Yeah. So we will start from the 32nd verse today. We'll chant the first couple of stanzas and then we will go through. एवं बहुविधा यज्ञा वितता ब्रह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान् विद्धितान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे. So till the 31st stanza, last week pretty much we covered 12 yajnas. So yajnas are what? Yajnas are different sadhana practices, right? You can call it broadly that way, that help to cleanse, help to purify us. That was the intent. And the 32nd verse sort of is, you just encapsulate all of that into, whatever has been covered so far. So he says here that these are called sacrifices. Sacrifices, yajnas are considered as sacrifices. Yajnas are what, where body, mind, spirit are all together, where collectively we see that the entire action, every action is a culmination of multiple forces coming together to make something happen. So I am one of the people doing it, but there's a lot of other forces coming into play to make it happen. So he says here, these sacrifices have been all now told to you. Now, the key thing here is that all of these, you have to put effort. So it is not that, you're blessed and it'll happen. And all of these are actions, karmas. So karma means action. So all of these come under the facet of action. See, this entire chapter is about action, right? What action should I do, to purify myself, to be in the knowledge more, etc. Right? So to that extent, all of these are purifying actions. Those are the 12 that were done. And so he says here, these have been come out of my mouth, right? These are all, uh, things where you need to put the effort. And when you put the effort, you will gain freedom. Now, how will you gain freedom? First of all, we have to understand that, so to do any action for that matter, one of the first things that are required is, one is to understand what those actions. Second is the commitment, the discipline to do it. Those are fundamental things. So only when that is there, then these yajnas helps us to, take us to a particular level where the knowledge sinks in, and once the knowledge sinks in, and you're in a through meditation and all that, you're able to achieve the final goal. Right? So first and foremost is effort. Second thing is that it's not that all these exams have to be done. It is like this, right? All roads lead to one place. Let's say there are multiple paths to reach a particular destination for all of us. Then it's not that each and everything has to be done. Whatever suits somebody has to be done. That is the key thing, right? So all of these have been illustrated based upon the ability and taste and interest and commitment levels for each and every one. These have been done. Now, some can do even more than one. That's not a problem. But, not doing anything is bad, but it is not that also all of these have to be done. So what were those yajnas? If you broadly speak, right? If you look at this, we started with uh, Daiva Yajna. You remember the first one that came, I think, in the 25th verse was Daiva Yajna. It is about worship. It is about puja. It is about worshipping the elements that form everything in this matter, these 5 elements. Then we talked about Brahma Yajna. Brahma Yajna is offering the limited aspect of what I am, which is, still impure, into the higher limitless or the divine I. Small I into big I. It's one way to look at Brahma. Then then we talked about at a sensory level. So if we get caught by certain sense organs or certain sense objects, so I want to listen to so many things. Offering the craving for wanting to hear, wanting to touch, or wanting to see excessively into the yajna as an offering. Right? And then, so there was, so is the sensory discipline, there is one is about controlling the senses itself, which is referred to Dhamma. And then there is Sama, which is about at a mental level. Both of these were, and then sometimes, there are certain objects itself that fascinate us. Maybe a food item, or maybe, object, even offering that. And then we talked about a list of about 5 to 6 yajnas that came in the 28th stanza, which is dravya. Dravya yajna is about offering dravya. It could also, and then we talked about, japa yajna. Japa yajna is what, doing japamala, using japamala, or repetitively chanting something. Any austere practice. That's what comes under. Then yogas, Ashtanga yoga, all the yogas that we know of today in Art of Living, all of that comes underneath that. Then Swadhyaya, which is where we talked about, chanting, um, memorizing, etc. And then Jnana Yajna, which is actually understanding the essence or being in knowledge from those scriptures. All of this comes under that. Then pranayama was discussed in detail, understanding what the 5 pranas are, which create the life force in all of us, understanding that, and then focusing on pranayama itself, the breath control practices that we've all learned. Fasting. So there are about 12 different practices that have been talked about, right? And each one of them, if you notice in our yearly practices, pujas, etc., we do some of these at different times of the year. Therefore, we somehow cover many of these, right? Swadhyaya and Jnana Yajna, we probably do it regularly. Pranayama, we're doing it every day. Fasting once in a while based upon certain practices that are found within a family you do. So like that, there are multiple of these practices. So what he's stressing here, the fact is that all of these are purifying practices, but these have to be started by you. So what is he saying here in the 32nd stanza? All of these are purifying actions. Remember that once you do this, you'll get liberation. It's not that actions by themselves are an end. The key thing to remember here, what he's saying, is that actions are the medium to get to the end. So it's a difference, right? It's like if a road takes me somewhere, that after that road finishes and I become better prepared to take the next base, going to the summit of, let's say, Everest, I go from base 1 camp to base 2 camp, base 2 camp to base 3 camp. So all of these are, going to different bases. The one that finally takes me to the peak, let's say the Everest peak, has to be knowledge, right? It can't be, because it is like this, right? You remember Guruji has always said this: when you do action, you get to get into a train, you catch a cab, you catch a train, do everything. Once you get into the train, you relax, you rest. You don't run in the train going from one compartment to the other, right? It's not going to be any help. You sit, relax, the train will take you to the destination. Similarly, like catching an Uber, etc., we have to do all these actions, all these yajnas. But once we settle down, we then relax, chill, cool down, which is all these courses, whether it is the meditations, the Sanyama course, all of these come into play. Okay, all right. 33rd. So here, what are the things? 33rd was the chant first. Shreyan Dravya Maya Dyagyat Jnana Param Tapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Pata Jnane Parisamapyate. So here he talks about, gradation of things. This is for us to understand. He says that knowledge is superior to the yajnas. clearly, right? Which is what was talked about even earlier. But he didn't say it in very clear stanza. He just said that it takes you to liberation. Here he's very clearly saying knowledge is superior to yajna. That means what? You do all these yajnas, but realize that beyond that, you have to be in knowledge to live the life. So jnana yajna is superior to all these other karma yajnas that we talked about. Uh, and so here, I think it's good to understand one thing. Guruji, when one of his talks, he has a different classification of these yajnas. Um, but it broadly comes into the same thing. He also starts with that the lowest level you do dravya yajna, offerings that we do inside, right? Dravya, all the things. Then he talked about japa yajna, which is also there in the list that we talked about. Then jnana yajna, one level even higher, being in knowledge. And then finally he said even higher than jnana yajna is dhyana yajna, which is meditation. So similar, same thing, right? Dravya, which is, again, action based. Japa is action based. Jnana is knowledge. Finally, culminating in being in bliss, being in samadhi state. That is the order. So, pretty much in sync with what we just learned here, right? In terms of the actions. Huh? So that's what he's saying even in the 33rd verse, is that knowledge is superior to this. Now, he didn't talk about meditation, etc. That comes later on. But because we are still in talking about karma sannyasa yoga. Remember this chapter? Karma sannyasa yoga. Sannyasa means in being in that state. But their knowledge is the base, I said, for the sannyasi primarily. So here, this is a bridge he's creating here. So he's saying that first you have to do all these karmas, and so this chapter is all that bridging the gap. What all types of actions you have to do. Ultimately, you have to be in the knowledge. Ultimately, you have to meditate. But these are all preparatory steps for you to do that. Okay. All right. So, so here, couple of things that we have to understand. For this to be done, right? What do you need? 34th stanza. You need to have a guru in one's life. And a guru is one for which three qualifications are needed as a seeker. First is surrendering to the guru. So you say, pranipatena tadviddi. Did I chant this verse? Maybe I'll do that chanting and then we'll go to that. Tadviddi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshyanti te jnanam jnani tasvattva darshinaha. So to get to this knowledge that he's been talking about in the last couple of verses, one needs a guru, and guru comes into one's life when one is ready. Now, having, what is my relationship with the guru? What are the things that the seeker has to do with respect to guru? Those are illustrated very clearly here. First, we say pranipatena. Pranipatena means prostration. Prostration means not just namaskara like that. At a mental level, having the humility, groundedness, the attitude of full surrender. I'm bowing down to you. You are my caretaker. Do whatever is the right thing for me. So surrender requires what? Utmost respect, utmost reverence for each and everything that obedience. So when a student approaches either physically or mentally a guru, even thinking about a guru, these are the things that have to be there. Without which, so that means what? At that time, there's no question of even ego coming into play with respect to a guru. It is not about what I know. So this is where the second aspect comes in. Pariprashnena. Pariprashnena means what? It's about, seeking knowledge. It's about clarifying things. Now, when I have to clarify certain things, And let's say that I have already read the scriptures. But once in the presence of a guru or even mentally think guru, I totally go blank. I go with humility. I don't know if the mentality I should have. It's not that I know this. I don't know. It's only when I go with I don't know, will I get clarification for anything. Only then the right knowledge will come. See, you know, it is not that, when we go to such sons, when we go to this, right? Sometimes you find that certain questions get answered, which somebody is asking, and you find that, I had the same question and the answer is coming. It's almost like, whoever it is meant for is happening. But that can happen only when you're humble, only when you're grounded. And so that way you're seeking the knowledge, willingness to listen. If I'm there to just check out, is that knowledge Guru saying is in sync with the knowledge I have, where will it go? So the first and foremost thing is that, almost like absolute reference, respect. And also, if I have to clarify something, I go with the mindset of not knowing anything. That's the reason it is sometimes said, right? When you have to go through these things, you have to go, you're not learning. Sometimes you have to unlearn something when you go to knowledge. Because, we've heard so many things. Our parents would have said something, you have read somewhere something, and maybe you have got a misconstrued knowledge about certain things. So sometimes one has to unlearn. And for me to unlearn, only when I go blank, I can learn. Right? If I go with the mindset, this is what it is, then it doesn't work. So, pariprashtena sevaya, third one, sevaya, you know what it means, right? Total service. Whatever service the Guru prescribes for you, right? Or be in the service of the Guru, be his instrument, right? You're a volunteer, you know, and get into volunteer activities of that organization. As a teacher, be a volunteer as a teacher, what all you're supposed to do it. So that seva mentality has to come in because that also removes that blank, that grounds you. It removes the ego. It also purifies you. So what are the things? Pariprashnena, pranipatena, and then sevaya. These three aspects, Krishna says, are very much required for you to be in knowledge. If either one of these three are not there, you may not soak into the knowledge. Right? And we can relate to all of this, correct? If you go with any other mindset about knowing something, etc., etc. So now go to 35th stanza. यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यास्यसि पाण्डव येन भूतान्यशेषेण रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्ययो मयि. So now he talks in the next few verses about what are the benefits about having knowledge. Says first that you will not be in delusion. What does delusion mean? Knowing what is right, what is not right, should be done, what should not be done. So Arjuna, right, was in delusion, right, in the first chapter, because he thought this is what I should do. I should not fight. Then slowly Arjuna has been coached by Krishna about his role, about his responsibility, etc., etc., that he's come out of delusion. So many times we are also in delusion, right? Should I do this? Should I not do this? What should I be done? So at a spiritual level, at this level, right, what is the delusion typically that most average people have? That, this whole world is about enjoyment. Whole world is about maja, maja, right? Go do everything possible, and that's where the happiness lies. Pleasure is life. And that, it is I, right? That doership, selfishness, right? Whatever I have to do, it is for my own satisfaction. All of that comes under these that. Here he's saying that all of those things, are all part of your delusion. So when you are in this knowledge, all of these goes for a top. All of these are removed. You get clarity. What is the biggest thing you tell me that knowledge does for us is creates that awareness, higher level of awareness of who I am, what I am. What is the, even awareness currently about what is happening right now to me? What is the emotion I'm going through? All of those start blossoming, right? That greater level of awareness starts blossoming and being equanimous, all of those things centered, all of them comes into play here. So here he's saying once you get into this knowledge, you realize that entire world is one divine energy, right? And it's the same divine energy that's there in everyone. So the aspect of you know at a transactional level, each one of us are different, but at the same time, each one of us are connected by one divine energy, and each one of them are also same entity deep inside, no different. So all of these things are talked about. Um, 36 and 37 stanza it's like a couplet. We'll read it together to understand it afterwards. Yeah. अपि अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञालप्यनेनैव रजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्नि तस्मात् कुरुतेऽर्जुन ज्ञानाग्नि सर्वकर्माणि भस्मा भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा. So, having heard this, right, one question that will normally come to an average person, right? He's talking about all of this. Now, what about an average person? Average person who's not yet in the path, somebody, who's still in the beginning stages, who's committed a lot of, unwanted things, has got a lot of desires, and in that process may have committed some sins, not desirable things, right? What happens with that? You know, how does this knowledge help such a person? So that is answered in these two verses. What gets removed for such a person? So he gives a very beautiful 36th verse, if you see here. He starts with Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittamah. Even if you're the worst sinner, most sinful of all sinners, right? With knowledge, you can be cleansed. So see the classification he's doing, right? He's giving, he's saying that even if somebody has done a lot of papa here means not to, papa we have to always understand, right? It is not always in the action, it's the intent behind the action, the mindset behind the action. Right. So Papa is also selfish actions come under Papa. It is not that only hitting somebody, killing somebody, etc. does, right? And even killing somebody also has got a bearing of why I did something. A fighter in a war, is going to kill somebody, right? But for the benefit of the country he's serving. So that is not considered Papa. Papa, therefore, is the intent behind what you're doing. And so here he says that, even the most worst of sinners, this knowledge will cleanse. And he uses that raft of knowledge, boat of knowledge. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Then second, 37 stanza, building on the same thing. Etai dhamsi samidhogni. Here he talks about Agni. See, when you look at Agni, right, what is there in the Agni? Tell me. So you put, let's say, wood. Or you take 5 types of, 5 different trees. One very good tree, with a lot of teak trees, just for example, I'm saying, or you put all acid. fire does not differentiate. So fire doesn't look at whether it's a good wood, bad wood, doesn't matter. Now what does the wood have that makes it go to ashes? Let's think about it, right? Logically think about it. Only if there is a fire element in something that can be blemished. If there is no fire element, it cannot go to ashes. So it's the fire element in wood, right, that gets triggered when you offer it in the fire that converts that into pure ashes. Similarly, the fire of knowledge that one, you know, picks up gain through knowledge here also can remove anything that you want, you know. And here I said any type of wood, right? So what does fire of knowledge do? Punya or papa, both of it treats equally. Now you say, why punya? All I want to get rid of is papa. But at one level, you say it's good to have punya but remove papa. At another higher level, both of them are barriers. Let's say that, we all have nice punya. Oh, I did so many wonderful things. I did good things because of this, I got a lot of punya. That is also something that does to the ego. It adds to your, pride, etc., etc. So somewhere one has to get rid of everything, completely empty. If I have to be empty, both punya and papa has to be removed. Initial stages, what we tell children, what we say, do good work so that your punya builds up and don't do papa. But when you get into spirituality, when you have to ultimately reach that goal, you have to go even beyond that. Because a punya can be a barrier. Punya can put things into your head that makes you look superfluously that you are wonderful. That's undesirable. You have to be blank. So, therefore, so the first example was wood, second example was fire. Now, I think it's worth recollecting two stotrams. How many of us know Guru Paduka Stotra, right? You would have heard in the Art of Living, right? Guru Paduka Stotra. What does it say? Ananta Samsara Samudratara Naukaitabhyam Guru Bhaktitabhyam. Ananta Samsara Samudratara. If you have to go tide through the challenges that comes in one's samsara, in one's life, what is it that makes you sail through it? It is the boat of knowledge, the boat of the Guru. Naukaitabhyam Guru Bhaktitabhyam. Once you offer the devotion to the Guru will make you sail through the harshest of samsaric challenges that you get through the boat of knowledge. So the boat is what, if you think symbolically, if you see the boat in a river, right? Unless there's water inside the boat sails through, right? It will wobble, this, that, etc. But it will take you through to the other place. So a boat is symbolic of also something that can take you through challenging waters. Similarly, here he's referring to that 35th stanza that you see here. 36th stanza is that boat of knowledge is referring to here, that it will take you through that thing, even for the worst of sinners. And the 37th stanza, he talks about what, it talks about that, knowledge is like fire, right? And, like you light a lamp, right, in the evenings or the mornings, what does that do? It creates a glow. That glow is essentially also knowledge. So similarly here, the fire of knowledge will also put all this to bhasma. Which one? The punyas and papas, even for the worst of people that you're doing. So the key thing, therefore, remember is what? To be in this knowledge. So it is like saying this, right? If I have to tell this knowledge, let's say to a wave, you go to a seashore, initially the wave thinks, like you and I think, I am unique, I'm special, blah, blah, blah. But slowly and steadily, it soaks into the wave that I am nothing but ocean. With knowledge, I understand it's part of the ocean. Similarly, you and I, initially we think I am different, he's different, she's different. Can there be a oneness amongst ourselves? Can I see a parity, even though there might be misunderstanding, you know, at one level, can we be at par? That's the reason we even do a namaste, right? Namaste is to honor the divinity in the other person. Jai Gurudev is to honor the divinity in the other person. See the bigger I in that other person rather than the small I, whether it's by somebody's name. So, so therefore, to see the interconnectedness, and that, like, ultimately all the waves emerge into the ocean, and ultimately they're just water. Similarly, all of us as human beings or living beings, or let's say human beings, that's where the challenges always are there, is that we are connected to the same source. We are the same source, not even connected, we are the same source. Essentially, like that water, we are that one supreme divinity that's there in each and every one of us. But at a transactional level, can I get to some parts of it at least? I might understand it very conceptually, but on a day-to-day behavior, day-to-day relationship, as much as I can relate to that much the better. That is what knowledge is supposed to do. Knowledge is not to know conceptually, yeah, you and I are the same at one level, but sorry, I can't deal with you. I can't accept you. Then it is not soaking in. So that is what he's saying, is that even for the, worst of sinners, this is possible. Isn't that something profound, right? So that's the reason it is said that, but all of this, remember, ultimately, you go back to the 32nd stanza. The work starts from you. I can keep saying, okay, Krishna has said he will take care of it. But how? I have to start the first sadhana. I have to start the first yajna myself. He's not going to come and do it for me. I take the first step. I take the first step, second step. He will come forward and make sure that, ultimately I'm connected to a guru. And that guru will, clear the path for me to do the right set of things in my life. The rest of it comes. But if I don't take the first step and I keep sitting, then that doesn't help. So in all of this, remember, is that to get to that knowledge, for all of the things that are said in 36 and 37 stanza, the work starts in all those yajnas, etc., that we talked about earlier. And what Guruji also said, right? Dravya yajna, right? Japa yajna, jnana yajna, and then dhyana yajna. Being in that space. So, so if you see a lot of, I talked about this. So here, one of the things we have to remember, what is it that he says it removes all the sins, right? Good to understand. So for us, sins are also are all our impressions, all our karmas. So we have the Sanchita karma, we have the Prarabdha karma, and we have the Agami karma. And Guruji has also said this, all of this with this blessing, things get erased. Which ones? The Sanchita karma, which is your entire depository of all the things that have happened from all your previous janmas. And the ones to come. The ones to come, you say, how does it get cleansed? Because if I'm in knowledge, only the right set of actions will happen from me. So by default, it is not that it's getting cleansed, only the right actions will come, which do not add to my karma list. Then comes Prarabdha karma. A Prarabdha karma is something that, all gurus say has to be experienced. There's no choice. Now, what happens to Prarabdha karma? It's not getting erased. So is that going to bother me? Now tell me, somebody who's in the knowledge, somebody who's come to terms with, at a higher level of acceptance on things, even if they go through life challenges, ups and downs, they handle it with a centered mind. That way, it is also getting addressed. So your ability to handle the challenges in life, which are none other than prarabdha karma, nothing but prarabdha karma. Whatever challenges I face today, a situation, whether it's health or whether it is a relationship, etc., everything to do with prarabdha karma that I have to face it now. If I'm in knowledge, I can handle it better. I can handle it amicably, totally centered, or better, at least better, right? So that is where all these, when he says sins are all getting erased, we have to understand how to go to the next level and understand Sanchita getting erased completely, Prarabdha, being able to handle it more amicably because of knowledge, and also Agami, that, I can get to the root and not even do those things. That's how these have to be understood, right? So go to the next stanza, 38. नहि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति. So, and if those of us you do a lot of chanting, etc. This you would have heard this, right? And how many of you know Lingashtakam, right? Many of you would know Lingashtakam. There's one of the final stanzas says Kumkuma Chandana Lepita Lingam, Pankaja Hara Sushobhita Lingam, Sanchita Papa Vinashana Lingam. Sanchita Papa Vinashana Lingam. So if I soak into, into Shiva, who is always in a meditative state, and I surrender to him, my Sanchita Papa Vinashana Lingam clearly is articulated in that particular shloka. In fact, all shlokas at the end of it have got a Palashruti, almost all of them. But this in particular, you'll notice it gives a clear vision, right? And I told you about the Guru Paduka Stotram also, right? So if we just relate to these when we chant, that there is a person who's going to sailing me through all these circumstances, through these challenges. I just keep continue to do the things that I have to do on a daily basis without fail. That's all there is to it. So this comes under what I call as Papa Nasha, Punya Nasha, Papa Nasha. You can say Papa Nasha, but even there Punya is also required, has to be gone for us to go to the next level. Okay, all right. So 38. Yeah, 38 stanza. If you see the verse, what do you see saying here? 38th verse is like this, right? He's going further into he says there's no other purifier in the world like knowledge. Imagine, right? It's almost, and Guruji has put it in another way. He says that, what does all of these things do? It creates a larger level of awareness in you. Awareness of everything, awareness of what's happening now, awareness about what I should do, not should I not do, etc. All of that. And awareness he said, is the truest wisdom, the best of wisdom possible. So here also, when we talk about the word knowledge, we have to remember knowledge is not at the knowing state. It is about a wisdom state. It is about having it ingrained in our day-to-day stuff. So we have to not look at knowledge as just superficial knowledge. I know this, right? It is like saying, I know how to chant something, right? But if I'm able to meditate in it and understand it, right, and be in the blissful state with that, that is a different thing. So here he's clearly saying, what is it? He says that ultimately knowledge is the largest purifier. So one thing that we have to always see, right? So today, if those of us who have a guru once, right, we just look at, okay, everything I surrender to him. It's almost like, my security, my life, etc. I bow down to you. Why? What is it that security? That security about somebody being there for you, somebody who's going to guide you, whatever has to be done, and it comes through multiple messages that what you should do next and what to, etc. And also the knowledge that is imparting, ultimate security, right? That is what is he referring here. It is not security, therefore, we may think, yeah, whether I have an insurance policy, whether I have this, those are all required. It's not given. Yeah, you have to take care of your physical body, you have to take care of your food, etc. That part of the security is there. But then your mental security, sometimes even your physical security, when you have to go somewhere, right? There is a larger power that is taking care of everything, that you are safe, that you are, you know, what you call taken care of through challenges, even in those things. So all of that security here is saying, so when we say knowledge here, we have to also put the guru into that same thing, right? Ultimately, guru is nothing other than the truth, the knowledge. So he says here, therefore, somebody who is doing perfectly this yoga practices, all that I've done, talked about here, that person will also be in me in time. In time means what? Soon. He's already in the path. So all that, if we see this as we get closer to the end of this chapter, he's saying, I've talked about all of this. And he's not glorifying the importance of being in knowledge. Till now, there was a lot of karma, etc. talked about, but now we're slowly transitioning into knowledge, right? Because that is what is the ultimate security for you. And the one who's going to give you the knowledge is your guru. And what aspects of that, how you have to work with the guru, we talked about that already, right? So ultimately, knowledge is your sanctum sanctorium, right, for everything, right? And what you have to go through, etc. What knowledge has to be done at the right time, will be taken care of by that higher power, the form of a guru. So that person will reach the self in time. Ultimately, that also is done by a guru. So, very, very clear, right, in terms of the, can all relate to how much, uh, indebted we are in terms of being where we are today. So, yeah, 39 stanza now. श्रद्धावान् लभते ज्ञानं तत्पर संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं दत्त्वा परां शान्तिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति श्रद्धावान् लभते ज्ञानं. So this knowledge, unless you have the faith, so you now bring in another qualifier, right? So one is to have, even while you're going through this knowledge, for it to sink in, the first thing one has to have is Shraddha. So we all know what Shraddha means, right? Shraddha, the closest English word, even though it's not the equivalent, is what is nothing other than faith. So faith, versus belief. We have to always understand this one, because sometimes people put belief and faith into the same bucket. Not at all. Belief is at a very basic level. I can today have a lot of belief in somebody, into my, whether it's a relationship, whether it is a government or whatever. Sometimes it might be even at a very emotional level. But tomorrow, let's say something bad happens with respect to that person or an institution, that belief goes for a toss. Belief in a bank, belief in a particular investment, belief in a doctor. Faith, on the other hand, is like a rock. They say faith moves mountains. Right? So no matter what I go through, one's faith, if it is really faith, cannot be taken out. That is Shraddha. So faith is like like a rock solid thing that is sitting in you, much, much, much beyond belief. Now, how does that occur? Belief is required, but with proper understanding. Belief is required, right? Without belief, you can't get to faith, but it has to be with proper understanding. Proper understanding what again, listening to talks, being in the knowledge, clarifying doubts, being in satsangs, all of this. That's the reason if you see, right, of course, when you go to satsang, Guruji gives knowledge. Sometimes, we attend follow-ups, at the end of it, there's a knowledge sheet. There's so many avenues wherein, if we pay attention to all of this, the right knowledge comes to the right people at the right time. We just have to keep our ears open. So, therefore, to achieve that larger level of awareness of mind, right, to be in knowledge, total faith, unconditional. So, obviously, faith means there's no doubt. Doubt and faith are just opposites of each other. If I have a doubt in anything, faith will never come. Forget even belief may not be unbeaten. So, you all know, right? What doubt means. Doubt means first I have to have a clear, about myself, I should have no doubt. In the context of the path, I should have no doubt on the path itself and the master who's delivering that path. And this can be taken to many, many other things, right? But at the spiritual level, these are three things. You can take that belief, that doubt also in the context of a family or in the context of a society. But it all starts with, people, others, and then at the larger society aspect of it. So here, he's saying that faith in the knowledge is the most important aspect. Person only who has faith, only when I have faith, right? That, when I sit in a satsang, when I get fully devoted, I close my eyes and I'm so fully into it. That can happen. That devotion can happen only if there is faith, right? I just don't blindly close your eyes. So therefore, for me to reach to that, deep meditation, be in peace with myself, that can happen only with knowledge. For that knowledge to sink in, I have to be full of faith and devotion. As simple as that. Okay. 40th stanza now. अज्ञश्च श्रद्धधानश्च दशयात्मा विनश्यति नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परो न सुखं संशयात्मनः. So last 2 or 3, concluding verses, he now talks about the other side of the coin. Here he was all glorifying people who are in the path, people who are faithful, people who, definitely want to be, in the knowledge, even sinful person. On the other hand, it says, Agyascha cha shraddhadhanascha, person who is faithless, person who is ignorant, also doubting person. See, samshayatma, samshaya means, right, right? Being in doubt all the time. These people, they have lost it. Now he gives the word vinashyati, destruction. Destruction doesn't have to be taken that this person is destroyed physically, right? He has lost it. That means it's going to be, stumbling block. It's going to take a lot more effort for that person to come into knowledge. So the ignorant means what? Ignorance all of us have, right? That's a different thing. Ignorant here means a person, like a tamasic person, doesn't want to even take that step. I know something has to be done, but I don't do it. That could be because I have doubt, I don't have the faith, doesn't matter, right? But all of these people, and then doubting whether I do it or not, the doubting, self-doubting people. The other thing about this word doubt, right? One should understand, when does doubt come typically? Have you observed yourself? It's always been perplexing sometimes. it is said that doubt comes only when your prana level is low, right? If I do my practices every day and that keeps the prana level at a medium level to high level, hardly ever doubts come. The moment I say today, no, yeah, no, I'm too busy, can't do it, or skip certain things, etc., prana is low, doubts keep in automatically. So even at a materialistic level, I'm saying this doubt has to be for me to have high level of faith, which means zero doubt. Basic requirement for all of us is to keep our prana level high. The only way to keep the prana level high is to go through these sadhana practices. There's no other choice. Even for me to read, let's say, reading a book or spiritual book or reading Patanjali Yoga Sutra, etc., right? I just can't read it just like that, open it, right? I have to have my prana level high to grasp even one sentence of what Guruji is saying. So very, very important. So here he's saying these category of people who are self-doubting, less of faith, also not wanting to step up, these people have lost an opportunity. So here he says that these people, they are not happy themselves, nor do they make others happy. Right? You know that, right? What happens? Okay, right. 41st verse now. Yogi sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibaddhanti dhananjaya. So he's sort of concluding here. He's saying, what is the word here? This is called, karma sannyasa yoga. What's the chapter? So the word sannyasa means what? Is typically renunciation. Right? That's what we understand. Sannyasa means he's left at home. He's put on, yellow robes or white robes and gone to some ashram. That's what that means. He's renounced. He's renounced, things in family, etc. That's not what we understood here. Right? Renouncing here means that even as a grahastha, that I renounce the doership of an action and the fruits of an action. That also is renunciation. That is actually renunciation. It is not doing some work. It is not running away from work. I continue to do the work, but I don't get caught on, hey, I did it. Oh, wow, the great person. Or so getting feverish about this result should happen. Only then I will be happy. So obviously, selfishness doesn't come into the equation when you have to be in this path. And the egoistic aspect of as a doership, the less the doership, the less I cling on to the fruits of action, the more I am in the renunciation space. So he says here, those people who have renunciation, you've done renunciation of the actions by what? By the yogic practices, by the yajnas that I've gone through, right? These people and whose doubts have been slowly cleansed by knowledge. Here, the doubts are not the kind of doubts I'm talking about. This means I have genuine doubts. I don't understand something. The space of I don't know. That mentality, that is taken care of by knowledge. Those people, they all come to him. These people are, these people are not, self-possessed. They all come and reach me because there is no other choice. They will all reach me. So that's what he's saying. Yoga sanyasya karmanam. Sanyasya karmanam. So people who are doing the yogic practice, through the yogic practices, have renounced the actions and who are also more and more soaking into the knowledge. Vignadhanti dhananjaya. So if you see all of these, right, what is it saying? He has to be, you just say that he's just become one with me. So right now, all of us, we look at, I'm in bliss. So ultimately Guruji says at one point you say you and him, right? Self and me. But you have to go beyond that. He's saying that oneness with Supreme. There's no doership. That's the reason we say, right? There's just one. Initially we go through God is different. I want to reach God. But here he's almost saying that you are one with the Supreme. In this chapter itself, in the fourth chapter, he's declaring this. So, so here, what are the qualifications? That there is no actions are don't create any bindedness. There is no ego. Therefore, there is no karmas that are associated with the desires, impressions, etc. Because of the knowledge, and that knowledge is coming after what having done all these yogic practices, etc. Right? And I'm in knowledge. So culmination of all of these things together. Now, what knowledge, etc., is something that's going to cover a lot more in the subsequent chapters. But he's almost giving that ultimate thing here in this chapter itself, right? Um, so that Tattvam Asi, right? Asi part is almost talked about here, but that gets chaptered, comes in the later chapters. So we can talk about more as freedom, talking about more about uh, being in bliss. Even for that, right? When we are in deep meditation, we say we are in bliss. I felt totally, in a blissful state. That's all that we can relate to now. Be in that free space. Okay, all right. 42nd stanza. तस्मात् अज्ञानसम्भूतं चित्संज्ञान ज्ञानासि नात्मनः चित्तैव चित्रैनं संशयं योगम् आत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत. Again, very simple. He's, he goes through the same thing. Here he uses the word sword of knowledge. What did he use earlier? Boat of knowledge, and then fire of knowledge. The same thing, right? All of these are symbolic. What is the sword of knowledge? I can chop off, and things that the blemishes that I've had in my life with this knowledge. I can cut through things. So whether it is and what are those, some fundamental doubts, fundamental lack of understanding, lack of clarity, lack of awareness. So he says here, yogam uttishta. See this word here. Chittevam samshayam yogam uttishta. Yogam uttishta means what? Take refuge in the sadhana. What does refuge in the sadhana means? Right? That is your only abode. That is the only way that's going to take you. That's a prescription. So yeah, here you may be talking about those 12 sadhanas, 12 yajnas. Here we can, and in that yogic practices, all that was also there. So for us, we just do what our guru has told us as far as the sadhanas are concerned. So the prescription is what? Be in the sadhana practices, be in knowledge. This is what our guru has been telling us every day. Be in knowledge, do your sadhana. Be in knowledge, do your sadhana. That's it. Okay. So to the concluding part. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Chaturtodhyayaha. With the blessings of the Guru, with all your participation, we've completed the fourth chapter. Again, none of these happen without the blessings, without the grace. So thankful to the Guru, thankful to everybody. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.